All right, good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. This presentation is being broadcast live, apparently, throughout the interweb, and also being taped and translated, I think. So we'll see how all this goes. If you are not present and you have a question during this presentation, please go ahead and send an email to sfs@fuller.edu, but use the subject orientation, and we have someone here monitoring that, and we'll make sure that we answer your questions as well. After the presentation, just go ahead and send them to sfs@fuller, and we'll answer those too. But today, we're going to go for the gold. This is an Olympic year, and so we're got a little Olympic theme going on. What can I say? And first, my name is Dave Richards, and I'm the Director of Student Financial Services here at Fuller. And what that means is I'm in charge of giving out money and taking money at the same time. Unfortunately, I take in more money than I give out. But at Fuller, we have what we call a one-stop model, which is basically the financial aid office and the student accounts team. In your undergrad, it might have been called the bursar's office or the cashier's office, are combined. And so there are two different teams, but we work together very closely. Today, we have 4 people from the financial aid side with us who are helping me out as we go through this presentation. We have Sierra and Moon Hee and Shannon and Amy, who all work very hard to make sure that you receive your financial aid in one way or the other. If you have any questions as we're going through this, there's going to be plenty of time for questions at the end, but feel free to go ahead and just raise your hand. You can go to the mics if you want to. If you don't, that's okay. I will repeat your question so it gets on the recording that we're doing, but we should have plenty of time for questions, and I can answer almost anything about financial aid. Okay. So the most important thing today is we're playing bingo. And you are going to win a prize, probably, if you play bingo. If you've never played bingo before, you should have a bingo card with you. It has a number of squares on it with a letter at the top spelling out the word bingo and then numbers below it. And what you want to do is match that combination of the letter and the number on your card. If you see that, you want to X out that space, and if you get 5 across, 5 up and down in one row, or 5 diagonally, then you win. And what do you have to do? You have to yell out bingo. If you yell out bingo, you are going to receive a prize. This is the only presentation where you get prizes. So enjoy it. So whatever happens during the rest of this presentation, almost all these slides are going to have different bingo numbers. If you didn't get a bingo card, raise your hand and we'll make sure that you have one now. I don't have any pencils, though, so you have to borrow from a neighbor. Get to know your neighbor. Maybe they'll share their prize with you. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll let you use their card and win again. I don't know. But every slide is going to have a bunch of numbers on here, so you want to make sure that you keep track of that. And from there, we will get going. And again, just yell it out. It gets to be chaos pretty quickly. Okay, so let's talk about registering for your event. In other words, attending Fuller. Most of you have already registered. Raise your hand if you've registered already. Great. That's fantastic. Here's the important news for you. Payment is due next Monday. Our payment policy is payment. I know. That's the worst part. Payment is due the first Monday of every quarter. So that will be this upcoming Monday. For the winter quarter, that basically will be the first Monday that you come back after New Year's. And it just goes quarter by quarter by quarter. So Fuller is on the quarter system. So if you register for 4 quarters, then you'll have 4 payments. Right now, we accept cash, check, MasterCard, Visa, traveler's checks, money orders, international payments. You can either wire them or use what we call Flywire, which is a company that offers better exchange rates. And if you are doing VA or tuition assistance, military billing, then you want to make sure that you have come and talked to us now as opposed to later, so that we can make sure that we have everything in order, we understand what your benefits are, and we can do that proper billing to the armed forces there or the VA. Okay, here's an important note. Effective in November. So right now, this is still the case. We take MasterCard and Visa. But starting in November, the seminary has decided that we will no longer accept credit cards for payment. Okay? But we want to give you the opportunity to still use a credit card if that's something that you need to do. So if you want to use a credit card, we've contracted with a third party who will go ahead and take a credit card payment, but there is a service fee that gets charged for that, and that service fee is 2.75% of the transaction, or a minimum of $3, whichever is more. And so in November, what will happen is we'll transition over to this TouchNet PayPath service that will still let you use a credit card if you want to, and it will expand the number of cards that you can use. MasterCard, Visa, Discover, American Express, JCB, Union, and a couple of some other international cards as well. Again, this is your choice. You don't have to use a credit card. We will still take debit cards at no fee. So debit card is, you may have a card from your bank that allows you to, it's your debit card, but when you go to different stores, you can choose whether to use debit or you can use credit. If you use your debit card and you say credit when you're choosing how you want to pay, then it will be processed as a credit card and you'll be charged at 2.75%. If you choose debit, you won't be charged anything. So, and we'll be sending out some more emails and things a little later when this takes effect, but I want you to know right now, you certainly can pay with your MasterCard and Visa. There's no problem for this basically up until November. So after that, then you will need to decide whether or not you want to use a credit card. Yes, ma'am. That's a great question, and the answer is no. So this only includes charges that are on your student account. So typically that's going to be tuition, fees, health insurance, hybrid plus fees, and those types of things that end up on your student account. Your housing balance is a completely different system, and right now they have chosen not to eliminate taking credit cards. That may change sometimes in the future, but right now it's going to stay, at least for this upcoming year, it should stay that way. And let me explain why we're doing this. Many people don't know that when you use a credit card, the person or the entity that takes the credit card has to pay a fee to take those credit cards. And so Fuller spends hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to accept credit cards, and we feel that we could use that money basically in a different way, in a better way, rather than sending it to the banks. And so this is a trend in higher education. There are some schools that are spending millions of dollars in credit card fees a year, and so most schools these days are moving away from taking credit cards or moving to the service fee model and contracting with a third party. So Fuller is basically going that direction as well. Okay? Just want to make sure, though, that you understand you still can use your debit card. You just want to make sure that you choose debit there. Okay. Also, in terms of credit card processing, we only accept credit cards online. So you can pay online through the Student Account Center, which I'll show you here in a minute, or you can come to our office and go to the kiosk and pay through the Student Account Center. And this also includes third parties, so we do not take credit cards over the phone, nor do we take them in person. So, and that has to do with credit card security regulations in terms of the way things have to be processed as well. So if you have financial aid, so student loans, scholarships, typically those are the two types of financial aid. Maybe you have VA benefits. those types of things. If you have enough financial aid that's already been processed, so if you just submitted your application today, you don't have your financial aid yet. But if you have received a letter from us and you've accepted your awards, then basically if your aid is enough to cover all of your fees on your student account, then you don't need to do anything. It's going to cover everything and you're good to go. You just go to classes, have a great time, and you're all set. But if your financial aid only covers a part of that, so you have a scholarship that covers some of your tuition, or you took out enough student loans to cover your tuition but not your health insurance or those types of things, then you need to do one of two things. You either need to go back to number one here, which is pay the difference on Monday or by Monday, or you can jump, see, Olympic theme, jump into the tuition payment plan, and that basically allows you to split your payments up over 2 payments over the course of a quarter. So the quarter system is very quick. They're basically 11 weeks at a time, not like a semester. So there's basically 3 months in a quarter, but you start registering for your courses 2 months into that quarter. So you need to have your balance cleared before you can register for the next quarter. So the tuition payment plan gives those of you that would like a little more time to pay that option. And so in the Student Account Center, you have that option to sign up for a payment plan for your quarter. You can choose the payment icon, which is this little, and again, maybe not, okay. It's that little calculator looking thing there on our website. And you want to choose the plan. There's a lot of different ones. Unless you're a Doctor of Missiology student or a DMin student, Doctor of Ministry student, you're going to choose the regular payment plan, the Master's Payment Plan. And there's a $40 fee per quarter to sign up for that plan. And payments are due. There's 2 payments. The first payment will be due October 5th. So if you sign up for this plan, you don't need to make a payment on Monday. You would need to make a payment on October 5th, and then the final payment would be on November 5th. If you miss a payment, then you're charged a $35 late payment fee. Again, you still have to clear your student account balance, so even if you miss both payments and you want to get charged those late fees, that's totally up to you, but you still won't be allowed to register for winter quarter until you clear your balance. And so every quarter you can sign up for this if you like. It's much more important for you to either sign up for the fuller tuition payment plan or to pay your balance off in full, basically within the next, you really don't want to be late. Let me put it this way, and here's why. If you're late, if you decide not to pay, you decide to wait till December, then that's when you can pay, you will be charged a $250 late payment fee. Okay? It's not something that we want to charge. It's not something that we would like to charge, but it is something that we do charge because payment is due the first Monday of the quarter, unless you have financial aid or you have the tuition payment plan. Okay? So let me give you a piece of advice here. Every quarter we charge lots of people this fee. I don't know why. For some reason, folks like to get charged this. I would love to have a quarter where I don't have to charge this to anyone. But here's a piece of advice. Number one, pay on time. But if you can't do that, sign up for the payment plan. And if you find that you can't even make the payments for the payment plan, then you're going to be charged a $35 late fee. So think about it like this. For the payment plan, you're charged $40 to sign up. If you miss both payments, $35 a time, that's $70. That's $110 in fees instead of $250 in fees. That means that you can buy approximately 30 more lattes at Starbucks that quarter, okay? So I'm not telling you to cheat. We want you to pay, and we want you to do it the right way. But if you're having some financial difficulties, then consider doing the payment plan versus just absorbing that late payment fee. Okay? The other thing is it may be less expensive for you, depending on the amount that you need to pay. It may be less expensive for you to actually put that on a credit card and carry some interest for a month or two and clear that out than it would be to pay the fees. So you need to decide that. It depends on your interest rate, all that kind of stuff. Depends on whether you have balances on your credit cards, those types of things. But there may be less expensive ways for you to operate than to absorb this late payment fee. But I do guarantee that we will charge it. So please go ahead and make sure that you follow these. All right, everybody get these bingo numbers? Anybody have bingo yet? All right. Here we go. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things because as Olympians, you need your training gear here. So we're going to talk about the things that we provide for you. Going to hit that student account center, the forms, your award, some requirements, and registration, even though you've all registered already. You guys get it all? I-25, G-52, I-17. I-25, so close. All right, so Student Account Center. How many people have actually logged into the Student Account Center? Wow, I'm very impressed. That's pretty awesome. So this Student Account Center is available pretty much 24/7. You can get into this by using your Fuller ID and clicking on that little calculator icon on the Fuller website under the current students page or on the financial aid page, SFS page. And this will always tell you what your current balance is on your student account. It will let you make a payment from here. It'll let you see all your charges by quarter. And this is also where we publish a student account statement for you. So every month we generate a student account statement if you've had activity on your student account, and that will show what your balance is as of that day. So think of it like this. If you have a checking account and you get a statement from your checking account, that statement only reflects exactly what your balance was as of that moment that they generated that account. And that is very much the very same thing that occurs with this statement. So we are going to run statements, not this Friday, but next Friday. And so that will reflect what your balance is on Friday of the first quarter. So if you drop a class afterwards or you do other things, get charges added onto your account, your balance will be different potentially than what your statement is. But you will have the opportunity to go in and always see your statement and always see your current balance on here. Okay? We hold about 18 months worth of statements. If that's something that you need to provide to your church or to your organization to get reimbursement, then you want to be able to pull that up and provide it to them. We do not mail out statements. We are not going to call you and tell you that you need to make a payment. This is graduate school, so we expect you to be able to do some things that we would expect regular adults to do as well. So you can always see this. So if you come in and you say, I didn't know what my balance was, we're going to say, did you log into the center? And believe it or not, we can tell when you've logged in because it's the internet and it's Big Brother. So we can see that. So the other thing that you want to do is you want to sign up for the 1098-T statement. So the first time you logged in there, you had an opportunity to choose an electronic 1098-T. This is a form that is sent to U.S. citizens and permanent residents usually in January, that allows you potentially to take some tax credits to reduce your income taxes or what you have to pay for taxes. And so by doing this, what will happen is we will make that statement available to you through the Student Account Center. You'll be able to download it as an Adobe PDF form and see that. If you don't sign up for that, then we will mail you one as well as putting it up here. The other part of the thing in here is we want you to sign up for e-refunds. So if you look at the top, there's that little gray bar there, and off to the right it says e-refunds. E-refunds, basically, if you are getting a student loan refund you're borrowing more than what your student account charges are, so you're borrowing some money to pay for your living expense, those types of things, then there's two options for you. One is check to you with what that refund amount will be, or if you sign up for e-refunds, we can actually send that directly to your bank account, and you don't need to make a trip to the ATM, you don't need to make a trip over to the bank, stand in line, do those types of things, or take a picture with your phone, do that kind of thing, right? So sign up for e-refunds. It's usually a little speedier. Here's a little tip. If you have not changed your address yet, if you've just recently moved to this area and you still have your old address on file with the registrar, you want to make sure that you update your address. Otherwise, your money is going to go someplace that you are no longer there for, okay? So go ahead and update your address as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I missed here. Okay. Oh, sorry. Third thing. Down at the bottom, this little gray area, you'll see something that says authorized users. So let's say that you have a church or a rich uncle who is going to pay for your charges on your account, who wants to pay on your account. You can provide them access to your student account. And you can choose what you want them to see, okay? You're not going to show them your grades. You're not going to show them the classes they've registered for or you've registered for, those types of things. But if you would like them to make a payment onto your account, you can give them access. You basically use their email address and you provide them with a password, and they have the ability to go in and see what it is and make a payment. So if you have someone who wants to make a credit card payment on your account, this is the only way that that third party can do that, is going through this authorized user process. And again, starting in November, they would also be charged that service fee process as well. So you can have checks sent by different groups. If that's what you're doing, that's fine. But make sure that if you have people who are responsible for paying for you, other than the VA or the military, that they know what the payment deadlines are. Because this is your student account. This is not your church's student account or your grandma's student account. So this is your responsibility to make sure that you're meeting these requirements. Okay, on the Student Financial Services website, there's always a forms page. This is last year's forms because we didn't update the slide. But you will always see the current year's financial aid forms in here. This is where you can access the application. You can access scholarship applications. You can access some additional forms that we may need from you. I would encourage you not to send us forms if we didn't ask for them. In other words, don't fill out a verification form if we did not ask you to perform verification. Sometimes that actually creates more work for you on the end there. So right now, we are in the 2016-2017 financial aid year. The financial aid year runs from the summer quarter through the spring quarter. So our financial aid year started this last summer 2016, and now we're in fall right now. We've got winter and we have spring. For financial aid, you must reapply for aid every year. That means that you must complete another fuller financial aid application, and if you're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you must also complete a FAFSA. So you will be filling out the 2017-2018 applications, usually in the winter quarter. Okay? So usually in January, we make those applications available. The FAFSA is actually available right now, or will be available on October 1st, but completing it early isn't necessarily going to, you might get bonus points, but we're not going to really look at it until next winter. So, but if you just want to get it done and out of the way, feel free to do so. So when we start the next financial aid year, basically in January, for the start of the summer quarter, summer 2017, we will send you emails. You will see signs on campus. It'll end up on the quad somewhere. and probably will end up being tweeted as well. We're not going to mail you an application, and we're not going to call you to complete an application. So feel free to, when you see that, go ahead and apply. And because you will now be considered returning students, so as of Monday, you are no longer a new student in the world of financial aid. You are a returning student or a current student. And what that means is that if you're in the master's programs or in different doctoral programs other than the CATS program, the SOT Theology PhD program, you can apply for different scholarships that aren't necessarily available to you right now as a new student, but as a current student or returning student, those would be available to you depending on your enrollment plans and the programs that you're in. So we will have a fairly large scholarship application available to you to also apply for. So there's basically three things you need to do. One is the FAFSA, if you're a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. The second is the Fuller financial aid application. And the third is apply for any scholarships that you think you might qualify for. Okay? If you don't fill out the scholarship application, then you won't be considered for scholarships. It's pretty straightforward. Okay? So all these are always posted on this forms page here. Okay. Sometimes people fill out financial aid applications and something is missing, or their FAFSA has some wrong information in it, or there's something that kind of triggers us to do another little review. And so you may have an outstanding requirement. Sometimes it has to do with citizenship. Sometimes it has to do your date of birth didn't match what the Social Security Administration has. Maybe you got married and you haven't changed your name yet. There's all sorts of reasons. You're not registered with Selective Service. There's all sorts of stuff. So there are things that need to be done. We will send you a letter that tells you what needs to be done, but you can also see this online, and you can always see if there's any outstanding requirements by basically choosing the eligibility requirements link on the current students page. And so once again, you have to log in with your Fuller ID, and this will tell you everything that we've received and whether it's incomplete or it's satisfied. If you have anything that's incomplete, you probably want to go ahead and get a hold of our office and make sure that we get that complete, because basically as long as you see things that are incomplete here, we cannot process your aid or we can't process your student loans. So if you have been getting letters from our office, they go out about every 3 weeks or so, and you have been ignoring those letters, now would be a good time to open that pile and see what we've been asking you to do. Okay? Bingo! There we go. First one. Here comes your prize of some value. I don't know where. Oh, there we go. All right. If you've got bingo, there we go. You got to yell it out. Feel free to interrupt me. Okay. Registration. You have bingo? Your hand's sort of. Not yet? Okay. Hesitant bingo. So close. Registration. This is the registration menu. All of you basically said that you've already registered for courses. So let me ask you a question. Did you go through all of these steps? There's about 9, maybe 10 steps there. Anybody do all of them? 3 people, 4 people, 6 people? Awesome. That's about what I normally expect. So here's the deal. We know you don't want to be conformists. You want to learn. You want to be your own person. But my advice is follow the registration steps. So the first couple get you registered. First 3 basically get you registered. Then the fourth, if you have not done this, this is a good time to do this. Basically, if you are not waiving your health insurance or your dental insurance, dental insurance is not required, but if you're not waiving your health insurance, then you need to sign up for a health insurance plan. Step 4 allows you to do that. There's a link to the health insurance site so you can see the different plans that are available to you. It's important that you do this before the quarter starts, or certainly before student loans are dispersed. And the reason for that is that will put those charges on your student account. If you decide, I'm going to buck the system, I'm not going to sign up for health insurance, and we're going to wait for Fuller to catch me, Fuller will catch you. And so what will happen, but they will catch you after your student loans have paid off your balance, and then they will put a big health insurance charge on your account, and you will have to clear that in November before you can register again. So if you're not going through the waiver process, make sure that you go ahead and just sign up for your insurance now. Swallow that pill now, as opposed to getting angry in November about it. Yes?
What do we do? Do we just show them like our health card or what?
Well, so in terms of the waiver, there's a whole process that the Student Health Insurance Office can help you with. I can't tell you exactly. It's usually an online process. I am about 90% certain that they will be at the resource fair this afternoon and can help you with that. If not, I'm 10% certain that they won't be there. Okay? If you would like to donate to student government scholarships, you're welcome to do that. And the next step, if you have a car and you need a parking permit, this is a great place to go ahead and do that. Get that put on your student account as well. And then, this is the part that's closest to my heart. Step 7. Step 7 is calculating your balance due. And you want to do step 7. And the reason for that is after you've registered, you've got that health insurance on there, you've got those student account fees, those types of things. You push step 7, and it's going to go in there, and it's going to look at your registration, and it's going to look at all those charges on your account, and it's going to calculate what your estimated financial aid is going to be. And then it's going to calculate what your balance is going to be, the amount that needs to be paid. So if everything is covered by financial aid, it's going to tell you you don't need to make a payment. If it isn't all covered, then in red letters, it's going to tell you, hey, you're going to have a payment due the first Monday of the quarter, or you need to sign up for a tuition payment plan. Every time you make an enrollment change, you can always go back and do step 7 for your quarter. Okay? And I recommend it because your balance will always change depending on those types of things. We will do this ourselves as well over time, but it's important to know immediately kind of basically where you're at financially with this. And then step 8 is my other exciting part, which gets you to that student account center where you can see your balance and you can make your payments and those types of things. So both of those are very dear to our hearts. So I encourage you to, even if you skip all the other steps other than registering, always jump down to step 7 and then step 8, okay? After that, you can update your ethnicity and addresses and telephone numbers and things like that. So when I said make sure you've changed your address, this would be a good place to go and do that as well. Any more bingos? No? There we go. You got to yell them. All right, so sponsors, people who are going to support you. There we go, down in the front. Over here to the left, they're flying in. Let's talk about student loans. Student loans are available for U.S. citizens or permanent residents who meet certain requirements. The very first thing is, in order to receive a student loan, your admission status, you must be admitted as a regular student. So if you were admitted as a provisional student, and it would say that on your admissions letter, so maybe you were missing a transcript or were waiting for a transcript, maybe you're waiting for a bachelor's degree to post, maybe there's one more reference you need, that kind of thing, you must clear those provisions with the admissions office before you'll be able to receive your student loans, okay? So if you've got that outstanding, this is you have a couple of days to try to get that cleared up with them. That would be wonderful. The other thing is once we have notified you that you've received financial aid, you still need to go in and actually accept your awards. So just the notification does not mean that you are getting everything. You need to tell us what you want. And so it's not automatic. So you need to go in and online again and accept your awards. And when you accept your awards, you also have to agree to certain terms and conditions of those awards. Those terms and conditions are not meant to be onerous, but what they do is they spell out our agreement with you. So basically, we're saying, hey, if you take this number of units and you do these things, then we're going to give you this much money. And the other thing that we're not saying, though, but it's implied, is that if you don't do this, then we're not going to do this, right? So when you're agreeing to the terms and conditions, that's what you get to hold the seminary to, and then that's also what we get to hold you to. And if there's any issues there, we will always go back and say, well, did you accept the terms and conditions of this award? This is what the award says, and this is what you agreed to. And so if we were wrong, we'll fix it, and otherwise we'll hold you to those terms and conditions. So you have to accept those. If you have any outstanding requirements, so especially for student loans, if you have not done an entrance interview or entrance counseling, you have not provided us some other things like citizenship papers, those types of things, then your loans probably haven't been processed yet. If you haven't got a letter from us that said, or a notification that says we processed your student loans and you're expecting that, you probably want to check up on that. This is a good time to do that. Everything must be accepted. Finally, everybody's held to financial aid satisfactory academic progress for both student loans and scholarships. And that means that you have to maintain a 2.5 GPA or higher. Some of your programs will actually have a higher GPA requirement than that for particular units. So the School of Psychology, certainly psychology units are held to a higher standard than that. The Theology PhD program has a higher standard as well. You must also complete 75% of your courses that you attempt. So that means that you need to complete 3 out of 4 courses that you attempt. My recommendation, complete all the courses that you'd attempt, okay? Don't wait to drop if you decide that you need to drop a course. Better to drop than to earn an F in it and affect your GPA and to affect what we call your completion percentage, okay? Because once you get below 75%, bad things happen. You start losing your financial aid. And we do measure this every quarter. All right, so we always measure it based upon your grades from the past quarter. So once your grades from the past quarter are posted, so because this is the fall quarter starting, in winter quarter we will measure that, and if you don't have that 2.5 GPA or you don't have a completion rate, then you will be placed on warning. Yes? No. So here's the deal. If you drop a class, and you can drop classes all the way through the end of the 5th week of the quarter at Fuller. It's pretty generous. Now, your refund is different, okay? If you wait till the 5th week of the quarter to drop your class, you're not going to get any money back. There are different refund schedules depending on how long in the quarter. But if you actually drop the class, then there's no penalty for that. Now, if you're getting student loans and you end up dropping all your classes all the time, then we're going to have a conversation with you because it sounds like maybe you're going to school for student loans instead of theology or psychology or things like that. And then we would like to talk to you, and Uncle Sam may want to talk to you as well. So the drop is fine. And incomplete, so let's say you take a course and you can't finish the work and you ask your faculty and the registrar for an incomplete, that by definition is not completion, right? Because it's incomplete. Therefore, it counts against you. So if you take, let's say 12 units, you take 3 courses, and you complete 1 and you need to take 2 incompletes, you will have a 33% completion rate, and that means that you will fail this policy. And then you will be placed on what we call warning status, and if it continues, then you'll be placed on suspension, which is not good. We don't want to do that. So incompletes, bingo. Incompletes are, they're fine, but make sure that you understand how they can affect your aid, okay? All right. So, in order to receive your financial aid, receive student loans, and receive scholarships, you need to be bingo, 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 all sorts of bingos. Not so much over here. Not over here yet? No? Okay. You need to be enrolled at least half-time for your program. And so you can see these different programs. Full-time is 12 units for most master's programs and certificate programs. Half-time is 6 units or above. If you do not take at least 6 units, then your financial aid will not pay out. There's a couple of exceptions to that for some regional campus folks. Theology CAT students, 6 units is full-time, so a 6-unit tutorial is full-time. 3 units is part-time, but you will never take 3 units. Just so you know, there are no 3-unit courses. And if you're in the School of Intercultural Studies, the MAGL program, 8 units is full-time, 4 units is part-time. The THM and the PhDs, again, 8 units is full-time, 4 units is part-time there. You also need to attend your courses. Pretty straightforward. When you attend your courses, the very first week or 2 weeks, the faculty will mark your attendance in Moodle, the online learning system. Every course has it. And they do that because the law requires for you to, in order to receive student loans, we must prove that you started your courses, that you began attendance in them. We're not going to track your attendance every week. Some of your faculty may. Make sure you check the syllabus in terms of what they say. But in terms of financial aid purposes, you must begin your attendance. If you don't, then if we don't have proof of attendance, then we cannot pay out your student loans. Okay? So the faculty will do that. They may pass around a roster and just have you sign your name on something and then later go in and do that. Some of them will just log in right there and call out your name or whatever, and you just say, I'm here, that kind of thing. So it's totally up to the faculty how they want to do it, other than they have to do it, okay? So if the faculty doesn't do attendance, jump up and shout, hey, what about attendance? Okay? And they'll go, oh, yeah. Otherwise, what happens is a week later, I'm calling the faculty and saying, hey, what about attendance? And you're calling our office and saying, hey, what about our student loans? And we're saying, hey, your faculty didn't fill out the attendance. So it's just much easier if they do it. All right. The other thing is, in order to receive loans, you must sign a master promissory note. And that basically is your agreement to pay back the money that you're borrowing. And so there's certain terms and conditions in there. If you have not completed a master promissory note, then you won't be able to receive your student loans. The good news is most master promissory notes are good for 10 years, unless you're borrowing a Graduate Plus loan, in which case you need to fill out a new prom note basically almost every time. Or if you need an endorser or like a guarantor to guarantee your loan, then you have to fill out a promissory note every time. All right, so let's talk about scholarships real quickly. Bingo, yay. There we go. Okay, so scholarships, use them or lose them. So what that usually means is that we have a certain amount of money scheduled for you per quarter. And basically, if you don't meet the requirements for that scholarship in that quarter, then you aren't going to receive those funds. We're not going to move the funds that you didn't receive over to another quarter. Okay, so it's a set amount of money per quarter. We're going to pay it out, or we don't pay it out, or we pay out part of it, but whatever's left over that we don't pay out does not get to be moved to another quarter, okay? The other part of this is it gets paid directly to your student account on the 3rd week of the quarter, fall, winter, and spring, and usually around the 6th week of the quarter during summer. And the reason it's a little later in summer is because in summer we have what we call intensives, which are shorter term classes like 2-week, 5-week courses, and you can kind of add and drop your courses pretty far into the quarter, so we're trying to get that enrollment settled a little bit before we pay your scholarship, because if your enrollment changes after we've paid your scholarship and it's conditioned upon a certain number of units, those types of things, and you change, then we are going to take that money back. Okay, remember we talked about terms and conditions, so we want to make sure that you are still meeting those terms and conditions of that award, and if that changes, then we will also change your scholarship as well. Okay, this is the most confusing part. That's why it's colorful. And we're going to talk about receiving your student loans. Okay? And I'm going to give you this example. There's bingos. So we're going to do two examples here. Maybe. So in this example, we're going to pretend that you have a student loan and you're going to receive $4,500 for the quarter, so for the fall quarter. That's the amount of money that's coming in from the government, okay? In our first example, we're going to say you don't have any scholarships. You're just going to be borrowing student loans, okay? So your student account balance without a scholarship, this first column here, let's say you have a $3,000 balance on your account. Well, you don't have any scholarship to be paid, so that still leaves you on the blue line there with a balance of $3,000 to be paid. Your loan disbursement is $4,500. So we're going to pay $4,500 onto your student account. That's more than the $3,000 in charges there. And so you're going to have a $1,500 credit on your account. That $1,500 credit is automatically going to be sent to you either by e-refund, so directly to your bank account, or we're going to send it to you by a paper check. We will mail that out to you, okay? At that point, once we've paid your disbursement, you have a zero balance, you're good to go. You don't need to worry about late payment fees, you don't need to worry about anything else. Everything is awesome at this point, okay? Now, let's pretend you have a scholarship. So same scenario, you have a $4,500 disbursement coming in, but lucky you, you've got an $800 scholarship. So paying for 2 units of tuition at the master's level. So at this point, we're going to pretend that we're going to pay that scholarship onto your student account. That's what Step 7 does at registration. It basically says, oh, you're registered for enough units that we can pay $800 onto your student account when it's time to do so. So we're going to pretend that it's going to be paid. So we're going to subtract $800 from your $3,000 balance. And that means that you have a $2,200 new student account balance, that blue line there. Now, you have a $4,500 loan disbursement coming in. So again, we're going to take that $4,500 disbursement and we're going to apply it to the $2,200 balance. That's going to give you a credit of $2,300. And again, we're going to send that as an e-refund to you or mail that out as a check to you. Once we do that, that's going to leave a balance on your student account of $800, okay? Which is the same amount that your scholarship is supposed to pay. But we're going to pay that during the 3rd week of the quarter. So it's okay that there's a balance there. Because on the 3rd week, when we pay your scholarship, your balance is going to be back down to 0. And at that point, you are good to go and you'll be able to register again. Okay? Does that make sense? Sort of? Yes. Right. So in your example, what would happen is basically, let's say you paid all $3,000 in this example here. So you paid the full $3,000 even though you have an $800 scholarship coming. What would happen is we would still pay that $800 in the 3rd week of the quarter, and that would stay as a credit on your student account. And basically would be, used for the next quarter in essence. We would not send you that credit. So we only send out credit balances based on student loans. If you have another credit, so in this case, if all of a sudden you said, oh, I paid $3,000, but I paid $800 too much, and you wanted that $800 back, then you would need to contact our office and request that to be sent back to you. Okay? But this is why Step 7 is so important, because Step 7 basically will do this. and basically, again, tell you what the balance is that needs to be paid. So you don't, we don't necessarily want you to overpay. It doesn't really do anything for us. But if you want to, you're welcome to. That would be fine as well. Okay, any questions on this part? Okay, because here's the other part, is there are going to be times when you see statements that you get, because remember we generate these every month, and you decide to go in and look at it. You're going to have a statement that's going to show that you have a balance due, but it's really the scholarship that's going to cover that. So again, don't panic when you get a statement. Look in the Student Account Center and see what your current balance is, not necessarily what the statement is, and that will tell you where things are looking good or not. Okay? I am taking too much time this year to do this because we don't have any questions yet. All right, so student loans. Sometimes we have to send your money back. So you remember you asked if I drop classes and you drop below half time. Sometimes the government would like some of that money back because you're not taking the courses that you said you were going to. So even though we may have paid you your student loans and dispersed those onto your student account, we may have to send that back. And so we'll be in touch with you if that's what happens. The other thing, though, is if we have to send money back, then we're going to cancel any future disbursements for that loan. So if we send money back this quarter and you were expecting a loan for winter or spring, you will need to fill out a new application for the winter and spring with your new enrollment plans. The other part is if we send money back, you're going to have a balance due on your account probably, and you're going to have to clear that before you'll be allowed to register for the next quarter as well. If you don't register for a quarter or you register below half time, which for most of you is basically 6 units, then your loan will not be paid to your student account at all. So that's pretty straightforward there. Again, step 7 will tell you that as well. Okay, so here's our contact info. Pretty exciting stuff. Here's the other thing I forgot to tell you about student loans. The seminary disperses student loans the second week of the quarter. And the reason we do that is because we want to make sure that most of the add and drops are done for the quarter. And the other part is, remember, we have to get that attendance information from your faculty to determine that you've actually attended. And so it basically takes some time for the faculty to sometimes get that in. And so we do disperse the second week of the quarter. So not this upcoming Monday, but the Monday after, we will go ahead and disperse. So I'm going to tell you just a couple more things, and then we're going to take a couple questions. Bingo. Any more bingos? Another one over here. Now's your chance. All right. As I said earlier, housing is not on your student account, so if you have a lease with them, you do need to pay them separately. And so if you're getting a student loan and you're going to use that to pay off your housing balance, then you get that refund and you pay them. Okay, that's pretty straightforward there. Same thing with the bookstore. The Archives bookstore does not belong to Fuller. That's a third party, and so you're responsible for anything that you do over there as well. And I'm going to tell you one more thing. There is now something for student loans called a book advance. This is something that was in undergrad, but is now at the graduate level. And what that means is the first week of the quarter, if you have a student loan and you're expecting a refund, we must advance you, based upon your enrollment, a certain dollar amount. So that is going to be sent to you either by check or by e-refund. And that amount basically works out to be $50 a unit at the time that we measure that, and we will be measuring that next Monday. So basically, if you have loans, you're probably going to end up with, think about it, kind of like 2 disbursements in a way. So that's the government doing that for us. And here's how you can contact us as well. And any questions? Bingo? No? Okay, we have a couple online questions. So we have a student in Kansas City who's asking if we have a list of additional scholarships from outside sources that other students have used in the past. Yes. I'm trying to remember where it is. If I'm pretty sure it's on our website under kind of other resources. I'm pretty sure it's there. If it's not, what we'll do is we will have Amy post a list of different websites that you might be able to search for scholarships. Again, you never want to pay to search for a scholarship. If you're a theology student, you might want to think about the Foundation for Theological Education. It's called FTE. They have a lot of different scholarship listings there, many of them based upon denomination as well. So. SIS student in Brazil, no, because you're not in the Pasadena area. So, yeah, that's a great question. Anyone else have questions? Yes. Okay. Yeah, I glossed over that pretty quick. So let's say you're registered for 12 units and you're expecting a student loan. Let's say it was that $4,500 was going to come in that example that we used. The law basically requires us to give you an advance that is equal to what we consider your books would cost you per quarter. So right now we basically allocate $50 a unit for books. You may spend more than that, you may spend less than that, but that's what we allocate. And so if you were registered for 12 units, we would say 12 units times $50, that's $600. And the government says we need to give you that $600 basically by the first week of the quarter. Okay? And so that's what's happening next Monday. It will be a payment to you of $600, assuming that your loans are going to pay out the next week. If your loans don't pay out the next week, then that's $600 that you will end up owing the seminary. So if you decide to drop everything at the end of next Friday, then you'll have a balance that you will owe. But that's only for student loans, and that's only if your loans are enough to cover. You would end up with a refund anyway. So if you're taking $1,000 in student loans and you have $2,000 in tuition charges, then you would not receive that book advance because your loans, there's no room for it at that point. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, something new. Yes. There are not federal loans available for international students. There are what are called private alternative loans. They usually go through banks, but they usually require a U.S. citizen cosigner to basically say that if the student does not make the payment, then that person is on the hook for paying that. So there are some available like that. Interest rates are not great, but it's a potential option. But you have to find that cosigner. That's usually the biggest issue. Yes.
So for the scholarships that are listed on the website, because you have to be a continuing student to apply to them?
Most of them, yeah.
Okay. Do we do one scholarship application and then you guys figure out if it fits, or do we have to apply to each one individually?
That's a great question. This past year, and we haven't decided going forward, so let's say you're a master's student in theology or intercultural studies. Usually what we do is we combine all those scholarships into one super big application. Super duper duper big application. And you basically go through and you check yes whether I want it or no I don't, and then some have some criteria, so you may need to answer a little question here or there. Some may require an essay. So again, we'll make that pretty, it'll basically be at the top of the application side. Yeah.
I'm a transfer student, so
Yep.
from Northern California, Bay Area.
Okay.
So are there any of those monies left?
No.
Then I'm not going to bother. This is my last year.
Okay. Yes.
For the book disbursement, is there anything that you need that we need to do as students, or is that something that happens automatically?
That's something that will happen automatically. So next Monday we will run a report, identify people for whom everything is done in terms that we fully expect their money to pay out the following Monday. and we will just generate those refunds. So again, if you sign up for e-refunds, it'll take a couple days to get there. Otherwise, it'll be a check as well. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, you can always contact us. I know sometimes people have questions about their own personal stuff. You don't want to put that out on the interweb these days. So feel free to come down and talk to any of us. We're glad to answer those questions for you. Some things we may direct you over to our office just because we may need to look something else up. But again, we are here to help you while you're here. So if you encounter some financial difficulties or you have other issues, please come and talk to us. We have counselors who are available to kind of work through things with you. And we want your experience to be pleasant, but we also know you don't come to seminary to go to the financial aid office. So, but we always love to see you. So anyway, I'm supposed to tell you the most important thing, which is lunch. Lunch is in Peyton 101, so in the center of campus in that room there. And if you did not win in bingo, then you need to see people on your way out and complain about the bingo cards, and also make sure you get your consolation prize. So welcome to Fuller.